Tony Luft, like Vito Vincetti, uh, in a sense, Tony Luft is a one-dimensional funny guy. There's the scene with his uncle and the dead goldfish in Vincetti Brothers. That's sort of the signature Tony Luft thing. But here, instead of just having doublings like I did in Vincetti Brothers, there's almost an endless loop. And so over every year from 1960 to 67 on Christmas, 8 Christmases, Tony Luft is alone in his shit dingy apartment. He's sitting on a chair or a couch and watching children's Christmas cartoons or something, whether it's Mr. Magoo or Charlie Brown or Rudolph or The Grinch Stole Christmas. He's watching this shit, and he's either jerking off and he falls asleep, and he has this memory. Well, it could be just his total dream. We don't know. When he was a little boy and he was going to meet the 1930s and 40s B action star Buster Crabbe. And his memories become more and more elaborate. And I just recently rewatched, for example, with Jessica last weekend, The King of Comedy. And in a sense, it's a very Rupert Pupkin-like thing, the way his fantasies every Christmas seem to get more and more elaborate.
You would think too that you would lose a lot of characterization in the secondary characters, but by having it such a wide scope, but you intersperse them very well. The Buster Crab memories too. It's interesting that you call Norwegian a dark comedy because it has high moments of drama too, even if they are comic at first glance.
Yeah.
The Tony Luft is a good example in that while it is comical scenes and that you laugh at Luft. There's also lots of pathos and depth to the characterization too. Not necessarily Tony Luft himself, but just the characterization of Luft, and you get with the cyclical thing a kind of a great symbol for his life.
Yeah, and Tony Luft has a few other good scenes when he's contracted by the woman who eventually becomes Paulie's wife, and he tries to make a pass at her or something, and then he eventually turns her into Paulie and whatnot. But the keys to Tony Luft is this scene, this cyclical recycling scene. And just like Vito Vincetti, I mean, it's an argument as to who's dumber in this book, Vito or Luft. And if you throw in Gino Vincetti, from the prior book, and it's interesting because the only Vincetti that we see other than Gino, I think, is the oldest brother, Dino, not Dino. Uh, I think there's a small scene where I think Vito comes by with his oldest son, whose name slips my mind now. He's signing up to be drafted for Vietnam or something, and I think Big Frank tells him he shouldn't volunteer or something. But other than that, there aren't any Vincettis here because I made the idea that the Vincetti, other than Vito Vincetti, any deeper characterizations is all within the Vincetti brothers book. And here, Vito is definitely a background character and whatnot.